4 years after the biggest rogue banking loss in history, 2 years after a lower court ruled against Jérôme Kerviel, the 35-year-old former Société Générale trader, back in court this Monday, appealing his 3-year sentence and the 4.9 billion euros he's been ordered to pay back, accusing SocGen of tampering with evidence and rejecting the bank's unrelenting assertion that Kerviel acted alone. So what's changed in 4 years? Well, not much. If you read the headlines, last year a London trader for Swiss bank UBS was accused of squandering $2 billion, and more recently it was at US lender JP Morgan Chase that $2 billion went walkies. Still, the banks insist they have tightened controls. Have they learned their lesson? Just how volatile are banks' balance sheets? Let's not forget that just a couple of months ago, Spain's Bankia was posting a profit before reviewing the numbers and sending an entire nation into a tailspin. In sum, is rogue trading just a symptom for a sector still badly in need of more regulation? Today in the France 24 debate, can banking clean up its act? And with us to talk about it, reporter Craig Kapitas, author of Metalmen, the Mark Rich story. Thank you for being with us. Also with us, Thierry Lévesque of the Reuters News Agency will be joining us later on, but we have with us Sofiane Aboura of the University of Paris at Dauphine. Thank you for being with us. And thanks as well to Julia Cagé, who teaches at Harvard University and the Paris School of Economics. The France 24 debate, where you can always weigh in on the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. You can find us at François F24. He claims that his bosses forged documents and manipulated his evidence. His bosses are countersuing Jérôme Kerviel on the eve of Monday's trial, throwing down the gauntlet.
I don't understand why this case is called the Kerviel affair and not the Société Générale affair. It's obvious from what I went through and the evidence in the case file that my superiors had been informed and the bank knew what I was doing.
He has admitted to hiding from his management the huge risks he took by fraudulently overstepping his mandate. Therefore, there's nothing new.
Sofiane Aboura, is there nothing new in this case?
Well, I don't know precisely. The thing I know is that on January 21, 2008, it was a stock market crash. Because at this period of time, this precise day, it was Martin Luther King Day in the US. The stock market in the US were closed, and there were a huge decline in the European market, and this created a panic effect. Therefore, the US Fed intervened the day after to cut interest rate, and we realized that the impact of this affair was quite important in the stock markets. And now the real question is to what extent one or the other party has a responsibility. I think it's related to risk management, risk control.
Is time on the side of Jérôme Kerviel? The fact is he was sentenced the first time in 2010. The appeal coming 2 years later, we've known a lot more. And as we said at the top, there's been a lot more of those scandals since.
Yeah, you're right, because the incentives are perverse in the banks, generally speaking, because the more you take risks, the more you earn, and this has not changed. That's all. And for that reason, we will still have any type of other scandals that resemble to this one. Well, it's not a new thing for me.
France 24's Owen Fairclough was out covering the case this morning and the opening arguments of that appeal on Twitter. He said the judge appeal very gamely, trying to master high finance, but having a nightmare with terms like turbo warrants. When you look at the coverage of something that's, well, we know that it's too complex even for the bankers. Julia Cagé, your thoughts on the way the media has covered this trial?
I think they are happy with it. They have a new story to tell about. It's a good timing, just after the election.
Tell it to us straight. Are we dumbing things down is where we're going here.
I think we are going to learn nothing from this trial. Like the first time, I think the media put too much weight on it. And this time again, I think the problem is not about Kerviel. And if we use this trial to try to understand what we need to do in order to improve the banking system and to have a serious discussion about it, it would be great. If it is again to try to determine whether Kerviel is a good or a bad man, was too clever for the bank or the bank just lie, whether this is the responsibility of the Société Générale or for Kerviel, I think we are just losing our time. But this is not only the problem of the media. When you see Kerviel, when you see the new guy that is in charge of his defense, obviously he's playing a lot with the media. He make a novel about it. He do his own like speech.
So too much theatrics. But hang on a sec. Sofiane Aboura just said that through this case, you learn about the perverse incentives that these traders have.
We knew it before. We knew it before. And I think people realized it at the time of the Kerviel trial in France, but even with the crisis, we knew it. Like banks are just playing with amount of money that are too big, even given the amount of bank capitalization. Like they are playing with amount of money that are bigger than their total capitalization, and this is a problem.
Craig Capidis, are you expecting to learn anything in this appeal?
No. What we're seeing here, the Kerviel trial has all the wonderful trappings of one of these classic medieval religious inquisitions in which we bring the heretic in front of those he used to serve, and they condemn him because he is the one who is wrong, and of course they are right. This decision from day one is what I always called a faith-based decision, that the court and the judge in the first trial, who did not really understand what was going on, as the judge just today said he doesn't understand what's going on, took it as a base of faith.
You'll tell us after the show what turbo warrants are.
Yes. It's a great new term, isn't it? You know, they took it as faith-based, that how could SocGen, this pillar of the French banking institution, allow people to do this? They would never do this. This guy had to be guilty. Well, I can tell you, trades of this velocity, of this turbocharged amount of money, are not done without higher-ups knowing. Banks don't work that way. I worked in a commodity trading floor when I did the Mark Rich book. I've seen it firsthand. But here's the key difference, you see. St. Jerome here, in this Inquisition, he didn't keep any documents, or what documents he kept to present to the court are pretty worthless. The thing is, if this judge, which I doubt, says, okay, SocGen, show us your documents, prove to us that you actually attempted to monitor the trading activities of this guy, that won't happen. And a final thought here, which adds to the further complexity. I didn't know this. Perhaps someone can explain this to me. But I read in a French newspaper this morning that there was no court reporter who took any testimony, did not make a stenographic record of the first trial. So I find it, which will make this appeal even more complex.
Let's welcome Thierry Lévesque. Good evening. Who's made it through Paris traffic. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
First of all, let's pick up on the point that Craig Capidis just made. Is there a stenographic record of the first trial?
Yes, of course, yes. There has been a detailed record of all the case, all the investigations, all the decision.
The testimony and everything?
Yes, yes.
There was a court record?
Sure.
Okay, I read that this morning, there wasn't.
No, but this first day, today, actually confirmed, I just come out of the court, it just confirmed that I think this is a particular case to this individual. It was a private initiative of Mr. Kerviel. This does not prevent, of course, the debate on the system, because if such a system can allow such a behavior, if it's confirmed that he's of his own responsibility, I think, of course, the system is in question itself.
Let's just remind our viewers who perhaps didn't follow the first case. We're talking about a guy who didn't take any vacations, who, in this instance, was playing with, what, 50 billion euros?
Yes.
He only lost 4.9. It seems like a small sum when compared to how much he was actually playing with. How can one single person be playing with 50 billion euros?
Actually, it is a matter also of about his job. His job was arbitrage. I don't know what's the word in English. But
Sophia, help us out here.
It's arbitrage.
It's arbitrage, yes. So you put normally you don't risk much in this position. You risk only if you do not cover your first position by a second one in the other sense, which he did not because he made just fictitious positions. So this game was not visible actually that is part of the problem.
The Wall Street,
the what was visible, it was the residual theoretical risk, but the volume of 50 billion euros was not visible anywhere.
when you look at those sums of money, the Wall Street Journal this morning pointing out that he hasn't answered the one question that everybody wants to know is why did he do it? What was it?
I think this is the real mystery of this case. The real mystery is that what was the exact mobile of the
This is what
so-called
traders
crime?
do. There's no mystery to this. This is what traders do. You know, traders are gamblers who put on fancy cufflinks, starch white shirts. They take off their jackets and they have expensive suspenders. And people immediately trust
of this
them.
amount and of this
because
risk.
the more
that
you
is
gamble, the more it is interesting.
But
When you go
how
to the
would you-
casino, you don't want
why
to
would
play
you
10
fly without a
euros.
parachute?
Yes, but
50 billion euros.
Yes, but if you want
Well-
to win and to win for yourself, you don't risk so much because in this position you risked to make the whole bank and the whole system explode. So I think it was so far that it is a bit strange, in terms of mobile.
But look at what he did the previous year, just before the crisis. He made a lot of profits for the bank. It was not for his own interest. This guy was not interested in money.
Yes,
he
but
was
he
not
went
driving
further.
a
Why
Porsche.
going further? I
Because
think this is a question
he was
to me.
following what he was doing, like playing with a little less. He make a lot of money, and everybody were very happy in the bank. He was kind of
Yes,
a hero,
probably was
super
what he called an
trader of the
engrenage,
year. And then after you
gambling
it's the
more and
psychology
more
of
and
the
more.
it's exactly the same
I
thing
don't-
that
That-
when
That's
you
why
go
I
to the
said it is
casino and you
also a
gamble.
problem of system.
Remarkable about this. I mean, studies have shown that the psychology of a trader is similar to that of a clinical psychopath. These are, doctors psychologists have done
And
these studies.
actually, corroborating what you're saying is French tabloid Le Parisien. It headlined this Monday how traders can still blow up the banks they work for, and described on its inside pages how psychologists have profiled traders and found them akin to psychopaths with little or no empathy for others and a propensity to take more risks when they lose money than when they win.
Do you play poker, Francois?
A little bit.
Okay, all right.
Same thing.
Never bet against an inside straight, right? These guys bet against inside straights consistently. This is called, in the trading parlance, it's called the jazz. They are on the jazz. And they're given permission to go on the jazz by older individuals at the institutions who have also been on the jazz. Now, St. Jerome here knew the rules better than most, and he knew how to break them. And I would suggest, this is speculation on my part, that he was taught how to break them. Because where was Jerome before he went to the arbitrage desk for years?
Back office.
On the compliance desk.
Yeah,
And-
explain what that means.
Okay, the compliance. All right, go ahead. You want to explain compliance desk?
He was, first of all, at the back office. That is to say, he was looking at the accountancy. Therefore, he had a position that allows him to understand the system, how it works, how you fulfill the orders and do the trade. Therefore, he knew all the system from the beginning to the end. But the thing, to join my friends here, the thing to explain why he had 50 billion euro, which was a huge amount. Today, it's twice the capital of the bank. It was because, as you said, he was doing arbitrage. Therefore, the theoretical risk was zero. As the theoretical risk is zero, you can play with 100 billion, 1 trillion if you want. But the problem is that he was not doing arbitrage; he was doing speculation.
But I think there is also a point. Even if he did not act on orders, even if he act, as I think, as an individual on his own initiative, I think it's even graver for the system, because if such ordinary traders, because he's an ordinary man, he did not run amok, he's mentally sane. He had a
never went on
normal life.
vacation.
He had no.
He's much
Sorry?
he's
Just
more
never went
clever,
on
I think.
vacation.
Yes, but probably to cancel what he did, actually. So even if such an ordinary man can behave this way and make the system explode. I think it's even graver if the system, his boss, cannot see what he does.
You put your finger on it here. You see, the banks and the traders for decades have kept moving the goalpost on the answer to a very, very fundamental question. You know, you can make it simple, right? What is a legitimate loss? You just said, oh, 50 billion is not that much. You always hear this, oh, how much he lost is not that much. You want to know something? 50 billion euros is a lot of serious money.
Of course.
2 million euros is serious money if you don't have it. And it's all the little bits of serious. So they stretch this, what is a legitimate loss? And the reason I submit why SocGen from day one has been running for their lives on this is because what this brings up, this case, is a more important discussion. How does one redefine, retinker, rejigger the capitalist system? And these banks don't want it rejiggered. So you have Jamie Dimon going on Meet the Press with his White House cufflinks looking very...
We'll hear from him later.
Yes. Well, you know, these guys look good. But make no mistake about this.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
you can feel it in this case. All these people, Jérôme Kerviel, but also all his mates, had lost completely sense of values because it's going faster and faster. You know, all this universe turns to 15 hours a day without thinking about the sense of their doing.
That's right.
And all these people, I think he's not very different from his colleagues who stayed in the straight way. Actually, he's a man, the real representative of the system.
Julia Cagé, are they going to put that discussion that Craig Tapis was talking about back in a box?
Yeah, but I think one important point we need to make is that one of the problems is the way they are paid. Like when you give money to someone because he's doing like $1 million, today you give him like 1% of that like tomorrow. This guy has a huge incentive to make 1 million, 10 million, $100 million every day. If we put in place a system in which you are not going to have huge gain in the very short run, but in the medium or in the long run, you are going to take money given the profits of the bank, not in 1 year, but in 2, 3, 4 years. This kind of things, this will reduce a lot the volatility. Because these guys are not only gamblers, they are guys that are... Kerviel is a special case. We have this image of... I think we have some difficulty understanding Jérôme Kerviel because this guy was not taking any holidays, was not spending money, not eating in good restaurants. But a lot of traders are just spending a lot of money. And they are used to make a lot of money, and the more you make, you know, the more you spend, and you always need more. And in this case, if you want to pay guys, like, given their present gains, you are going to have a system that is very volatile, and at the end of the day, that is going to go in to disappear.
There is also, another point. He was playing I think people should know that he was playing the money of the bank, not the money of the people who want him to do so. He was playing the money for money. So shouldn't it be just forbidden?
Well, Julia just raised a really elemental point on this discussion on redefining capitalism. One of the flaws of SocGen and these traders is they do think short term. What did you do for me? What are you going to do for me in the next hour?
And when we come back, we're going to look at how they try to reform that. Stay with us. This is the France 24 debate.